Alrighty, so this video is going to review how you would set up an appointment for a group, a couple, or a family. So within My Best Practice, essentially groups, couples, and families, they're all set up in the same way. And so just be aware of, like, when you see client group, that could be a couple, it could be a family, or it could be an actual group therapy session. So essentially, best practice for this is every member of the group, quote unquote, that you're going to add, you're going to create their own client profile. So here, let's say we're going to show a couple first, right? So we could have, Jane Smith. We're going to put in Jane's email right here in Enroll in Client Portal. And then for the cohort, we're going to choose the appropriate intake packet for them. So I might have an intake packet that's specific to couples. I might have an intake packet that's specific to a certain group, right? Or I might have one that is specific to families, things like that. So I'm going to choose the one that's appropriate for this person, for that group, whether it's a family, couple, or an actual therapy group. And so, for example, here, let's just say I'm sending her the adult intake. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that client, and that's going to go ahead and send that adult intake to her. I'm then going to add the other person in this this couple. So if we did Julie Smith, right? I'm going to then go put in Julie's email, Enroll in Client Portal, and again, I'm going to choose the intake packet that makes sense for Julie. So here, if we add her as a client, we're all good to go there. Before we get started, I'm just going to add a few more examples here. So let's do, let's say we had the anxiety group for teens, right? So let's do Johnny Blue. Maybe I'm going to enroll, the contact. So I'm going to enroll the parent in there, but I want the parent to fill out this anxiety groups for teens. So we could say mother, Gina Blue, and I could put in her info, add that client, and then let's just add like a couple more. So maybe we could do Molly Yellow. Maybe Molly is she's 18, so she can fill out her own consent form. So I might do her email address there. And again, I'm going to choose the anxiety group for teens. I'm going to enroll the client, not the contact. And I'm going to press add client. And let's just add one more person in. We could do. All right. Let's say Teresa's also an adult. Let's make it a little easier. So here we go. So I essentially went and added all three of those clients, again, because they need separate client profiles, even though they're going to be part of a group. This is most pertinent when it's a family or a couple, right? It might be more intuitive to create one kind of mega client for the two of them. But really, in our system, you're going to want to create two separate ones so that you can utilize the group function in My Best Practice, which is really cool. So here, now that we've set up our clients, we're going to go here to account settings. If you don't have admin privileges, it might say My Settings, but you're going to end up in the same place, which is this Groups tab. So right when I come to the Groups tab, these are all the groups that I have access to. Again, I'm logged in as an administrator, so I can see the entire practice's groups. However, if I was logged in as just a professional, I would only see the groups that I've been assigned to. So for example, if we were going to add a new couple, let's use the Jane and Julie Smith example. So here for the group name, I could put Jane and Julie Smith. I could put couple, Jane and Julie. I could put the Smith couple. Again, I can put whatever I want as this group name, and the client's not going to see it. It's just what's going to show up on the calendar when I'm scheduling that appointment. So here, for example, let's say Jane and Julie Smith. I might want to put down here couples therapy. And then in clients, this is where I'm going to actually choose those clients. So here I'd choose Jane, and then I'd choose Julie. I'm going to press add, and they're going to be added right here to the group settings. So in the case of a couple, so maybe you might have the couple indicates, hey, Jane is going to be responsible for the entire fee. We're going to submit through her insurance. She's going to pay the whole fee for us. So Julie's not going to pay anything for these sessions. what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to her services and I'm going to select the correct service code. So it would be like the 90847. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the service price as 0. I'm going to then just make sure the correct staff is assigned. So if you are a professional and you're adding this group yourself, you're going to automatically be assigned, so you don't have to do anything. But I'm going to go ahead and press Save Changes. And so now that group has been created. I'm going to go ahead and also set up one other group. So let's say we were doing the Spring Anxiety Teen group. I could go ahead and I could add my clients. So Molly Yellow, I could add Johnny Blue, and I could grab Teresa. And so all of them are there. So for this example, maybe I have a standard fee of like $25 for this group. If everyone in this group is going to be paying $25, I don't have to do anything with these services here. These services are only if I need to make an override for one specific person in that group. So let's say the group is typically $25, but Molly Yellow, she's going to be attending that group for, say, $10. So I would go ahead and I'd put in the service price as 10, and I'd choose the code that's appropriate, and then I'm going to press Save. So now on the calendar, this is where I'd be able to schedule those groups or those couples. So here, for example, if we wanted to schedule a couple, we'd add a new appointment. We go and we choose our room. At the very bottom of our client list, this is where we're going to see our client groups. So right here, you'll see client group. You're only going to see the ones that you're assigned to. You're not going to see the entire practices groups. But so for this example, we'll go ahead and we'll place Jane and Julie Smith. And the service fee, we're going to go ahead and put in the actual total amount of the session, right? So here, let's say the total amount is $250. Because I set Julie to have a price of 0, you're going to see here in a second what that looks like. So all group appointments are going to be denoted like this. They're going to have this kind of like dotted outline. So if I go ahead and I click on the group, I could go and press Add Note. And right here, I'm going to be able to tell, okay, so I did this right? Because Jane is paying the full amount, that $250, and Julie's paying 0. So right there, if they both attended, I could mark them both as present. If one of them missed, with a couple, it's a little confusing because maybe you're going to choose to change that service to an individual appointment, which in that case, maybe you would, go ahead and mark this appointment as missed for both of them, give them a $0 price, and then reschedule an individual appointment. That's probably the easiest way to do it. But this kind of attendance feature is more pertinent with groups, right? Where you might have a whole ton of people. You might have 15, 20 people attending a group, and you want to be able to say who was there and who wasn't. So you'll see right here, before I take attendance, I could go over to the group note and I could start writing this note. So the group note is basically going to copy over to each of their individual profiles for that session. So if I was writing a group note and, we'll just put some random stuff here. Let's do like DBT, let's say it was general techniques, right? Maybe that's my group note. That's pertinent to everybody who attended group. So right off the bat, that's going to go and it's going to be pasted to everybody's note for that day. However, if I took attendance, so for example, here, let's take attendance for this couple, you'll see as soon as I take attendance, it's going to create not only the group note, which is going to copy over to both of theirs, but then each of the individuals in that couple or within that group are also going to have their own note. So right here, I could say if I had something specific to Jane that I wanted to include in the note for that day, I could go into Jane's note here, and I could add, for example, notes that are specific only to her. So maybe I did a mental status exam for each of them. So I could go ahead and do that. And then I could go and say, okay, so for Julie, I also did a mental status exam, and I could include that there. So on that note, I'll just show you what it looks like. So here, I'll turn these off. So essentially you'll see there's going to be the group note up at the top, and then there's going to be the note for the individual person. So obviously like this session note here, this was private information that is only regarding Julie, whereas this group note up here is like for everybody in that group. And so again, the place that this will probably matter the most is like for those bigger client groups. But again, you might want to notate something that's specific to one member of the couple that's not appropriate to put in the group note. And that's why this exists. Here, let me just show you quickly the calendar for a group, like showing what it looks like for that bigger group. So here, again, if we said, all right, we're going to choose our spring anxiety teen group. This is when I'm going to choose the code, and I'm going to put in the service fee that is my standard rate for that group. So I'm not going to like total up, oh, I have 10 participants, it's, $250. Instead, I'm going to put 25, right? So 25 is my standard rate for this appointment for everybody in that group. When I then add that appointment, if I go and click on the spring anxiety teen group and I press add note, remember the only person who I adjusted was Molly. Molly, I said, was going to be $10, but everybody else was $25. So because I put that appointment in for $25, they're all going to be listed as $25, and only the one that I did in the settings will have a different price. I could always change it. So if I, decided later on, okay, actually Johnny Blue is also going to get it for $10, I could come up here and I could change his price for this specific appointment. And then next week, it'll remember that I changed his price. So now his price is $10. If I need to mark, maybe Teresa missed this week, but my policy is that even if you missed a group session, you're still getting charged that fee. You're going to see right here, it automatically sets that fee that's owed to 100% of whatever that fee was. If I decide, maybe this group, you only pay if you attend, right? So Teresa missed this appointment. So guess what? She's not going to owe anything for that appointment. I'm going to change that service price to $0. I could then say that these two attended, and I could press submit. Again, as soon as I hit submit, it's going to generate those individual notes for each of these people. So Johnny Blue, Molly Yellow, and then you'll see Teresa, she doesn't have her own individual session note for this appointment because she didn't attend that session. Technically she doesn't have a note for that session because she didn't attend. What it will say is if we go to Teresa's client profile, and we go to her events tab, it's going to say that she missed that appointment, right? And so that is essentially her session note for that day. It's just, it was missed. That's all that I really need to notate. So that is how you set up groups, families, and couples in My Best Practice. And I hope this was helpful.